Furious 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Getting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space, now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Am I waiting for a drop? Is there going to be a drop? Is there going to be like a...
Such a dramatic intro.
Right. There it is. All right. Oh, it just makes me sad now.
I figured we didn't get a chance to touch on what happened with Karrion.
I know, right?
So, and his music's awesome.
Oh,
so
yeah. The whole package.
It's a good way to start.
It's incredible.
So, of course, all right, so that
doesn't work for me.
That's a lot of hair.
It was enough for both of you. I have enough hair for everybody. But of course, welcome to the War Report, brought to you by TagMeADate.com, the first and only dating site exclusively for fans of professional wrestling. Of course, you can follow us on social media at TagMeADate to find out updates on the site redesign and updates on the podcast. We broadcast every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. here on Eastern Time, and we've got a brand new streaming setup here, so we should be on. I was showing the Facebook page earlier when we were booting up here, so we're live. We're live everywhere, man. We're live on Facebook and should be on YouTube and I don't even know how many others. What else are we on here now, Steve?
We're apparently we're going to be on the War Report Facebook page live, the Tag Me a Date Facebook page live, YouTube on the War. It's under Tag Me a Date, but the War Report on YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch.
Woo! Periscope and Twitch would be fancy. All right,
look at that.
And so it's a brand new system, brand new layout, and we are here to talk all things wrestling. We had a NXT Super Tuesday, we had AEW's All Out pay-per-view, and we had Monday Night Raw coming up last night as well, and another Super Tuesday tonight in less than an hour, right after our podcast ends. NXT is opening up with a NXT Championship match. Now, you might be saying, now, Vince, last Tuesday, the title was declared vacant, and then there was an Iron Man match between 4 former NXT champions, and they guaranteed that we were going to have a new NXT champion by the end of Super Tuesday. Well, they lied. Didn't happen.
Yeah, I know you did that.
So, for those of you who weren't paying a lot of attention, yeah, that didn't happen. Should we go all the way back to last Tuesday and work our way up, or do we go? Do we go address Eric's rant, or do we address that Steve is dressed like The Rock from that fanny pack picture?
Wow, that's true. You know what? I am always down to start a show with an Eric rant.
Put the lower third on there. Let's see it.
I'm thinking that's the way we start. So, Eric, the floor is yours. Do whatever you got to do. Ran away.
Okay, so this happened. My thoughts kind of came in the middle of the show when, after Street Profits won the match, all that stuff, then Cesaro and Shinsuke come out. And I'm thinking, I'm done with this. Can we just stop with the fucking brand split? It doesn't matter anymore. It's fucking stupid. Everybody shows up and everybody shows is ridiculous. And then they're trying to do the brand exclusive for Retribution, which makes no fucking sense if they're that kind of group.
Oh yeah.
So and we've touched upon that, but I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the brand split. I'm tired of all the championships. Which title means more? It doesn't. It's so stupid. For me, if there's more than one of any champion, it dilutes it. The world championship and the universal championship. To me, the universal title and the world title before it never meant shit to me. WWE title is the title,
Yeah.
I can kind of deal with two, IC and US, whatever. Tag teams, it's ridiculous. Especially the women's tag team championships, they're already going to all the shows. And if the women are on all the shows, what is the point of having individual women's titles? Merge the Raw and SmackDown women's titles. I'm done. I'm over it. I'm tired of it. I can't deal with it anymore. I hate the brand split. I hate multiple titles. That's what I got.
Would
So-
you say enough is enough and time for a change?
Jesus.
So, what exactly are you saying?
Do you like the brand
Wasn't clear,
Listen, I there's not a lot that you said that I can't disagree with. I mean, it is what it is. I feel like at the end of the day, they're trying the best they can under the circumstances. It is what it is. As far as, the titles, I mean, listen, you want to put the brands back together, put the brands back together. Although I heard there's another draft coming soon.
Right.
So if they're
whoop-de-doo.
well, right, but if they're doing a draft, then obviously they're keeping the brand
It
split.
doesn't matter. Everybody's gonna, be on everybody's shows anyway. It doesn't matter. It's all fucking pointless.
Well, that's the thing that's why it's so silly. This is not somebody playing for the Yankees and then playing for the Red Sox. They all play for the same team, and then they're pretending that it's not. I mean, there's not even like it used to be when it first happened. The idea was that Ric Flair bought Stephanie and Shane's shares, which they never even talk about that anymore. They're just like, oh, Shane and Stephanie, they own the company. Of course they
They're in the consortium.
It was me. Woo! Man, it was me. I'm the consortium. You're not the consortium. Woo! All
They're
right.
partners.
This whole thing started.
Face was priceless.
And that was interesting because you had a WCW guy owned one of the brands. Now, I know at the time, the plan was to take one of the shows, and it was I think it was going to be Monday night. They were actually going to do Nitro on Mondays, or they were going to do Nitro on Thursday. They were basically one of the shows was going to be Nitro, and it was going to be a WCW show. But then Buff Bagwell wrestled, and
Oh, boy.
so thanks, Buff, for that. But anyway, that was the draw of it was you had two owners. Literally, they called them owners, and that's why it was interesting. Then it became general managers. It was like, oh, Stephanie and Paul Heyman and then Eric Bischoff. And that was still kind of interesting because you knew in real life none of these people liked each other. Bischoff didn't like Heyman. Heyman didn't like Bischoff. Hey, Bailey. All right. I mean, hit me up.
Yes.
So I love this comment thing. That's beautiful. That's so great. Picture and everything. This is wow.
How we doing?
That's what Tag Date's all about.
Absolutely. It's about meeting people. But there was a draw where there was interpersonal drama. Now it's Raw and SmackDown. It's not even like Teddy Long anymore. There's no authority, and I'm not saying bring back authority figures. That's not what I want. But the
Maybe
perception,
a Jack Tunney kind of guy.
right? Somebody who's like a dry, boring white guy who can just kind of tell you what's going on. That's fine. But the draw of the brand split was that there was actual like animosity, and there was like people who like they broke up tag teams, and it was like a tragic thing that somebody doesn't run. Now, I mean, who gives a shit? Like Billy and Peyton, they decimated that tag team, and for what? Okay, I don't know. I really don't know what the point of that was.
I don't know. They already gave them each their own music now, and
Oh man, this terrible strip club music that they have.
yeah.
Jeez.
It's not much worse than what they used to have, though.
Yeah, but it's still not. I don't know. It's just so.
Kind of tired of that one, but
Well, listen. So we got through the rant.
weeks.
I don't really think we have to really dive too much into the NXT pay-per-view outside of the fact that Karrion and Lee had a sensational match. Karrion winning the title, obviously, and then getting hurt.
Right.
And he's out, what's the timetable? Are we looking, 6 months?
I would say at least 6 months because I
Something
think
like
the shoulders take about 6 months for sure.
So, it sucks. That's why we open with the music. There's
But
really not.
knowing NXT, it could be a blessing in disguise.
Hey, you never know, man. I mean,
They've been able to, get through.
I'm willing to give them a shot to see what they're going to do here, but it is kind of a strange. I don't know. The whole thing is weird. They hyped up this 4-way match, and then they ended it with a tie. But it wasn't 4 guys tied; it was 2 guys tied. And then instead of all right, there have been some. I don't want anybody because I know the comments pop up on the screen. Well, actually, when Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels had an Iron Man match, they didn't continue because it was a draw. There wasn't a title on the line. Every time the title is on the line in an Iron Man match and it ties, they go to a sudden death. This has never happened before where they go, nah, we're going to do it next week. And it just really, it smacked of hey, we wanted good ratings this week and we want better ratings next week. So you better watch both shows, motherfucker. That's really what
it's reminiscent of old Nitros where they used to say, tune in next week to see the rest of, we gotta go.
We're desperately out of time. We gotta go.
That was the worst when they used to do
They
that.
did that with a pay-per-view. It was the Goldberg DDP title match. And then they showed it the next night or the next week or something.
That one was a mistake, though. I think that wasn't supposed to happen that way. But anyway, yeah, it was.
Well, so listen, there were
97.
There were a lot of big things that happened this week.
Big things popping.
One of them is something that we've been waiting for quite a while.
Oh yeah, that happened.
We finally got the heel turn.
Yeah.
Well, no, I shouldn't say the heel turn. We finally got.
Too late.
No. Well, I don't mean the heel turn. We finally got the split.
Right. The split.
Where Bayley beats the shit out of Sasha. What do we think? It looked like Sasha was being written off of TV for a while, so I don't know. I haven't really heard much.
It was very well done, I thought. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
She faked her out. I think there was it seemed like she was going to help her up, and that was pretty good. That ended up, I think. I'm not going to say for sure, but I think it ended up influencing what happened on the pay-per-view with AEW in terms of Kenny and Hangman, because at the end of the match, it seemed like they split, but Kenny, rather than helping Hangman up, Hangman got up to his feet and then did a flare bump on his face, and Kenny didn't help him up. He didn't attack him, but he didn't help him up. He just walked away.
He just kind of moved out of the way and just.
So I feel like Kenny was going to beat the shit out of Hangman until Bayley did the exact, it was the exact same thing. They lost, she lost the match. She was down. She was selling. Oh, let me help you back up, and then I'm going to hit you. I think it was, had something to do with that, because I really feel like Kenny was set up. I'm wearing the shirt. The cleaner was coming back. He's supposed to go out there and bang, goodbye and good night, and he didn't. But I feel like it's all in the follow up. That's really the problem with not the problem. It's the nature of the wrestling business with Sasha and Bayley. It's all in the follow up. You can have a real good first angle or first interaction, and then from there it could just like Seth and Ray. Because at this point I don't care. So at least with Sasha and Bayley, maybe people still care, and they'll be able to bring good emotion out of this, as long as it's not on 1 week, Sasha and Bailey fight on SmackDown. The next week they fight at the pay-per-view. Then 2 weeks later, there's another pay-per-view and they have a different kind of match. And then the pay-per-view again, they have another. And then like 6 months later, we're like, all right, we get it. We're sick of these guys. Like there's a way to do this without killing the interest in it. And I hope they take that take that to heart.
I can't disagree with you because I am so over that feud. I'm just at that point. I don't care. It just took anything you cared. It's every week now. It's So,
but Sasha and Bailey, at least. Well, here's the thing: everybody's been waiting for this, so it's almost like there's some people who are like, "Okay, it finally happened. Great." Other people are like, "Hey, this is great. It finally happened," and they're happy it finally happened. So there's two different camps of that. But I think seeing what Sasha can do, because obviously Bailey's going to be the heel here. Sasha, I don't want to say never worked as a babyface, but I feel like Sasha was. When you looked at him a couple years ago, you went, Bailey's always the babyface, Sasha's always the heel, and now we're crisscrossed. So we'll see how this goes. Obviously, Bailey, I keep wanting to call her Haley, like the girl from Paramore, but Bailey is the heel, and she's been really growing into that heel persona with the Karen haircut and all that after the last year or so. And Sasha's been a heel right along with her, so it'll be interesting to see if Sasha can carry the babyface side of this feud. I think she can. She's obviously talented, but like she's been heel so long, we just got to see how this shakes out.
It's funny though because I feel like she hasn't been heel long enough. I like Sasha as a babyface too. Don't get me wrong. I think she's great either way, but
I think they could have definitely. I mean, listen,
she was face for a lot longer than she's been heel. At least on the main route.
Right, in the main route, and with this pairing. She's only been heel a kind of a short amount of time, but I feel like it was another one of those things where they could go, well, we could keep the belts on them for another couple months and then really drag this out. But like, there was just a point where they had to get it done. People have been waiting. I mean, how many WrestleManias have I personally sat through where one of them was in the ring for a battle royal and the other one thought they were eliminated? You know what I mean? There was just so much of this stuff between them where
they even teased it not too long ago.
Yeah, but they teased it like 3 years ago. I think it was either Orlando or one of the New Orleans ones. I mean, there's at least one, if not two WrestleManias that I remember them teasing the Sasha Bailey thing, and then nothing ever came of it.
That's when they brought the Team Hell No Doctor back.
Oh yeah, they did the couples therapy thing with I forget what his name, Dr. Shelby.
Yep.
And then Harold is Scorpio Sky in AEW.
Oh shit.
Yeah, Harold was Scorpio Sky. And
shut up, Harold.
Exactly. So
wow.
Bailey. I watched the pay-per-view, AEW's pay-per-view. I watched the NXT TakeOver, of course. I caught the last little bit of the Iron Man match. When I heard it spoiled that there was going to be a tie, I'm like, oh, I got to see this shit show. But I didn't watch SmackDown and I didn't watch Raw. But my question is about SmackDown specifically. This Roman Reigns heel turn, and now he's wrestling Jey Uso. And if there were two guys, if I had to like give you two names of guys that I couldn't give a shit about wrestling each other, it's Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. So how did this work? How did it look? How are we feeling about the world championship or the universal title, whatever it's called, is being defended by Roman Reigns against his cousin, nepotism, and he's just going to job out his cousin and beat the shit out of him. Like there's zero chance. I don't even know. Like this is like watching Baron Corbin in a title match. He's got zero chance of winning. So how are they going to? Tell me your thoughts on this, and then how do you think they're going to make this compelling to make you think there's actually going to be a title change here?
I have a theory, but Steve, go ahead.
I think this match is going to last all of like 45 seconds.
That's the only way it can go.
It's going to be a just total squash. That's just my guess. I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, I would have rather seen Corbin in this position because then Roman's going to wreck him and I'm good. I'm glad it wasn't our bro because he can't really afford a loss against Roman Reigns right now. It just doesn't make sense. So I think listen, it is what it is. It's going to mean absolutely nothing.
Right.
I smell a finger poke of doom, honestly.
Ooh.
You
And then,
know,
like, Usos-
Samoan Shield or something like that with Heyman.
Oh yeah, Heyman
Bring-
got a little.
Bring back
Heyman
the
got a
finger
little-
poke.
Bring back the finger. Yeah.
I think it's great, but honestly,
Oh, that would really, people would be so mad about that. I would be not. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Maybe, but it's just like it just I don't know. That seems to make more sense than the cousin getting decimated. You know.
Because it was like a real. I don't know how to put it. Heyman's that, like, I didn't watch the whole show, but I saw some quotes and clips and stuff, and I feel like Heyman got a little. I don't want to say racial, but like he brought up the Samoan thing quite a bit. So I feel like you're onto something, maybe, where the Samoans stay together. I don't
Yeah,
know.
correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember this, but did Heyman manage the Samoan SWAT team in WCW back in the day? Or was that somebody else that managed
He
them?
might have. I listen. He managed so many people with that.
Because the
Dangerous
connection
Alliance.
there would be Rikishi was one
Yeah,
of them,
yep.
and that's Uso's dad. So
Right,
there's
and
the
like
connection.
Sione or whoever else. Yeah, there was. That's a good question. Ryan, get on it. If Ryan's listening, he'll send us a message in like a minute.
And plus, if you recall, in the entire Brock Roman feud, Heyman mentioned a ton of that stuff all the time. Also,
Yeah, but he's like, what do you call him, the High Chief or something? Like he was trying to, like, really play up that the Samoan heritage thing. Which, I guess, I mean, what else are you gonna do? It's Roman Reigns. He's got big old horse teeth. What else can you say? I mean, you got to lean into the Samoan thing, or else you're just gonna talk about his subway tiles. I don't know. I feel like we're almost at the point where I don't want to say we're right back to what the original issue was with Roman Reigns, but I feel like it's one of those things where they're like, oh, well, Roman Reigns wins all the time, and the people didn't like that. So now we're going to make him win all the time so the people don't like it. So it's a heel turn, but it's the same. It's the same. Like Roman Reigns, that banner.
But now he's supposed to be getting the booze. You know what I mean? So for him to do anything that's going to piss us off is the greatest thing he can do, because he is now the heel. Now, they were trying to force feed the good guy Roman Reigns, and the fans weren't buying it.
This is true.
So now you're officially letting him do the heel deal, and then you got Paul Heyman. I mean, it doesn't get better. That's a marriage made in heaven, because Roman doesn't have to do a lot of the talking either. He can say his punchlines, but at the end of the day, Heyman's going to do the talking, and everybody loves to listen to Heyman. So I think it's perfect. Roman's going to have that belt for a long time. So, he's going to have opponents like Uso, maybe not at a pay-per-view, and that's nothing against Uso, but he's a tag team wrestler. That's the thing. He's not a world champion, in my opinion. And I like him. I'm a fan. But
I also think that they didn't want to, make Bray or Braun look any dumber.
Yeah, but I mean, the whole thing is it's
The
so
worst, right?
It's like now those guys, both Braun and the Fiend Bray Wyatt, are former champions who didn't get their traditional rematch. I mean, maybe did the rematch clause? I don't even know. Rematch clause went
Shane
away.
McMahon ended that like a year ago or
Okay,
something.
so maybe that's. But it's just, it's strange to think that these guys. I mean, Braun won at WrestleMania, and like
Against Goldberg of all people.
right, and then they built up this thing with like Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt and blah blah blah, and
I think they're going back to that Bray Wyatt
well, they're definitely.
Fiend Alexa Bliss thing.
But it's just so strange that they built it up as a title program, and
Yeah.
then they took a left turn where they're like, oh well, Roman. Oh yes, Eric was the manager of the Samoans. Ryan the intern. Okay, so Heyman was the manager. Thank you.
Heyman was the manager. The intern coming through.
The prophecy is coming together.
And I like that we can put his message on the bottom too. That's even better.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I typed it out and made the banner.
Yeah, but that's pretty great.
Isn't that great?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. So yeah, we're in the middle of it with this Roman Reigns thing. You're right. Roman's not going to drop this title until WrestleMania or
yeah.
At
beyond.
least for Mania, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna have a solid run. I don't know who's gonna be the guy.
Big E.
I well, you have to also remember. I'm okay with that, by the way. But I think we got to wait and see whatever fucking draft they do,
Yeah.
and see where everyone winds up if they're going to continue to do that.
Yeah, for all we know, they can move Roman and the Universal title back to Raw.
You never know. I mean, listen.
Brock had it there for a bit, I think. So
Oh yeah, I just feel like maybe because it was Raw exclusive for like a couple of years and they switched to SmackDown, but I feel like it's too soon maybe to put the Universal title because they did that with the big gold and then the WWE where they would switch shows, you know, depending on what night Triple H wanted to work. He wanted this belt, so.
Right.
But I think they'll keep it there. I just you're right. Rosters are going to change up, but I think so. My conspiracy theory. No, my theory is they delayed Keith Lee, so Keith Lee and Drew can either have a pay-per-view match at a bigger pay-per-view than Night of Champions or at WrestleMania, and the same thing with Big E. They pushed Big E down, like Big E being in that match to determine the number one contender was a heavy favorite because of all the promos he was cutting and all the popularity and this, that. So they took him out of it and put in Jey Uso, who's like that's a big step. I mean, not that he's a bad wrestler, but I mean, in terms of like tag team guys becoming singles guys, Big E is the guy.
I'll tell you what, I could very well see Big E winning the Rumble and then heading to Mania.
And that's what I'm thinking because my original thought for Reigns was that, I think I said it last week, they were going to do Brock Reigns at WrestleMania with Reigns having the belt and Brock being the challenger and Reigns finally beating Brock at WrestleMania. But if they don't go that direction, I think the appropriate thing, even better than Brock, because we've seen that match 1,000 times and there's nothing new. Those guys could do nothing new. It's the same fucking match all the time. Excuse my language. Big E winning the Rumble and then going on to beat Roman Reigns would be a great. I mean, it's just like, I don't want to say just like Kofi Mania, but it is reminiscent of Kofi Mania because it's one of his New Day buddies, and it's somebody who was a world champ. Like Daniel Bryan was a world champion for a while. They built him up as this guy, even though he's 5'2". They beat him. You know, he was unbeatable. Blah blah blah. And then Kofi beat him, and it was a big deal. And that was the highlight of that WrestleMania. So I mean, I know Becky won the match and all that, but like to me, Kofi winning, like Becky deserved a long time. Kofi deserved that for a long time, longer than Becky. So Kofi winning was my highlight of that WrestleMania, and I think the same thing could be said for Big E. Big E is one of those guys when he came in with AJ and Dolph, and you're like, this guy doesn't need to be with them. He's a star, and like you want to see more of him. And then the New Day came along, and like, well, all three of these guys are stars, and now one's won the world title. Why can't another one win the world title? Big E is I feel like he should be set up to be a guy that can be the regardless of whether he's with the New Day or not. Cereal boxes, toys, commercials, talking to people, going on Good Morning America. That's Big E. You put him in a situation, Big E on Good Morning America, or Kelly and what's his face, or whatever morning program you put him on, he's gonna do great. So I feel like they should, if they aren't, they should be thinking about putting the old rocket strap on Big E.
Yeah. I mean, for all we know, he could end up on Raw in this draft, or he could win the Rumble and pick Raw.
Yeah, I mean, who knows
either
where
way.
Big E goes? I mean,
and we don't know whether it's going to be Drew or Randy or
Yeah, because now they're setting that up where there's a question of whether or not Randy. I mean, we thought this last month where Randy's going to take the title for a quick reign, maybe give it back to Drew or give it to a Keith Lee. But now they're really planting the seeds, I guess you would say, to try and make you question whether or not Randy's going to be able to do the thing and win. So, at least there's a question mark there, and you kind of are interested in where that's going. Like Retribution, who gives a shit? Raw Underground, who gives a shit? There's just so much who gives a shit stuff that you have to filter through all the bull crap to get to the stuff you care about.
I'd rather see the question mark.
All right, I'll give you something. This you can do your thing on because I know you got something to say. Vince McMahon now banning
Oh, well, yeah.
superstars or the superstars of being on outside like Cameo,
Yeah,
Twitch, go ahead.
the story has changed a lot since it was first reported because there wasn't a lot of information, and then more came out as the story developed. Initially, they said Vince McMahon was giving 30 days for all superstars to vacate existing third-party platforms and third-party deals on social media. The rumor was that Lana accepted a Bang energy drink endorsement and posted a picture on her Instagram. And Bang isn't a sponsor of Raw or SmackDown, and because her Instagram handle is at the real Lana WWE or whatever it is instead of CJ Perry, that it was seen as an endorsement by the character Lana that belongs to WWE rather than the individual CJ Perry, who's an independent contractor. It went from banning all third-party deals to the story is if you're using a third-party system like Twitch or YouTube, etc., and you're trying to make money off of it, you have to use your real name. You cannot use your character name and promote it as, for example, Big E. You can't say Big E is on Twitch. You have to say, I forget what his real name is, Etwan, whatever his name is, is the real guy. Or like Al. See, here's the weird thing. There's AJ Styles, who's all over these platforms. I believe AJ Styles owns AJ Styles. He didn't sign that over to WWE. Now, I don't know if he gave them the right to dictate whether or not he can use a third-party platform, of course, because I don't know his contract specifics. But it seems like third-party platform like Twitch is fine, YouTube is fine, but you have to let them know what you're doing and the deals that you're making, which seems a little weird because they're independent contractors. The big one is Cameo. Seems like they're really cracking down, like WWE is cracking down on their superstars being on Cameo and saying you can't do it because if you've heard, they're planning these virtual meet and greets, which is basically like a Cameo or a Zoom meeting or whatever, but you pay the money to WWE to meet the superstar. And in that case, you know who makes all the money? WWE. You know who doesn't? Superstar. Big E has one of the most popular cameos on that website. And it's because he puts effort into them. They're very expensive. And for that reason that they're so expensive, he really gives it his all and puts in a good performance on Cameo for the people that are buying these kinds of videos.
He really does. And if you've never checked it out, you can actually go and watch without buying anything. You can see
just watch
all the videos. He's hilarious. I mean, he does this whole shtick, man. He's awesome.
So this brings into question, and we won't get into this whole thing because we only have a half an hour, but there's legalities in place where, all right, if the hinkiness is, they're supposed to be independent contractors. I've never heard of an independent contractor who had to run their other jobs, contracting jobs, by the company they're working for. It's counterintuitive to what an independent contractor actually is. An independent contractor is just that. They are free to take their 1099 form and fill it out and fill out an agreement with WWE and then fill out an agreement with Cameo and then fill out an agreement with a sponsorship on Twitch and then fill out an agreement where, you're going to be a sponsor of my YouTube channel because they're independent contractors. But WWE is saying the language of the contracts say that they have to get their social media stuff approved by them. Even though they're using their real names, they still have to let them know. But then, so what if they let them know and they said, oh no, I don't want you to do that. Do they have the right to say, I don't want you to do that? What does the contract say? Is the contract legal in a sense of, not that it was just signed by a lawyer and signed by agents and all that. Is it legal in that the language that they put in there? You can sign here you go, folks. If you don't know this, you can sign a contract that has stupid stipulations that can't hold up in court. You could just sign it knowing that there's stuff in there that is unenforceable. So potentially, if one of these superstars who's a big name wanted to challenge it in court, they could. A lot of the times it gets drug out and then eventually WWE settles with him. Rey Mysterio did that one time when he was sitting out his contract. He brought him to court, tried to drag, WWE dragged it out until Rey Mysterio settled. And then because there was no legal precedent set by the court and it was settled out of court, there was no decision rendered, and therefore other cases that come forward in the future didn't have a precedent to be judged against. So if the judgment was against WWE and someone else tried to sue WWE, they couldn't just go, oh, look at this other ruling. So they always try and settle out of court to make sure that these contract disputes don't become public, because then the contract, once it's in court, the contract becomes entered into the public record. You can go and pull the court records and see the specifics of contracts and see the specifics of what each lawyer is contending, and then eventually the decision that the judge or the jury makes. I assume it would be a judge trial, not a jury trial, because it's not criminal. So there's a lot of weirdness going on, because ultimately these guys are supposed to be independent contractors. They aren't offered vacation time. They aren't offered health benefits. They pay for their own travel. They have to pay for their own health insurance, which some of the people like Becky Lynch, The Rock, John Cena, anybody that's acted on television or in a movie did that to get their SAG, their Screen Actors Guild union card. Now, they won't enter SAG for whatever reason, won't enter wrestlers as members of the SAG union, even though they're on television and they're working for, essentially as performers on a television program. I think there's something to do with the fact that the wrestlers themselves won't organize and unionize, and also because WWE is a big, scary corporation. So wrestlers don't get their SAG card unless they're in a movie or on another television program to earn their SAG card. And that's how they can be entered into that insurance pool. This is really, I can't say it's the most exciting stuff in the world, but it's an opportunity for them to be able to get health insurance on a group plan. They're still paying for it, themselves, but you as SAG, you pay member dues and you pay union dues and you get something back for it. The ability to be in a group insurance plan gets the rates down. Being a member of SAG gets you benefits of being noticed by other, a lot of television programs won't work with non-SAG actors. You have to get your SAG card before you can go on and do bigger films and bigger television shows. And that opens up the door for those wrestlers to eventually not just get their own benefits, but then spread their wings, which is what WWE is notorious for not wanting to happen. The one last thing I'll mention about this is that there's something called the John Cena clause. It's not formally called that, but it's called the John Cena clause because in 2004, 2005, they realized that John Cena was going to be their main event guy. John Cena was one of the first new main event guys that was using his real name in WWE as a main eventer. Him and Randy Orton are probably two notable examples of guys using their real names coming in at that time to be their top guys. They had to write something specifically into the contract that if you're using your real name as a WWE superstar, you are giving permission, you are licensing your name and your likeness as John Cena or Randy Orton or whatever. If you're using your real name, you're licensing that to WWE for the length of your contract. And when it expires, the license reverts back to you. Leo Rush did something similar. Leo Rush was just given the rights back to his name, Leo Rush, and his likeness of Leo Rush by WWE after his contract expired. So this is in there, and it could be language that's in every contract, meaning that regardless of whether you're using your real name or not, you've signed away your rights to using Steve Glenwick as on whatever platform because you've already given them the rights to license it until your contract expires. So I feel like maybe some people are going to go undergo contract negotiations. The real big thing would be if all the New Day guys, like all the guys in Up, Up, Down, Down, Breeze, Woods, I was going to call him Chugs, but he's not Chugs. It's Adam Cole, Cesaro, Biggie, any of the Kofi, any of the guys that show up on Up, Up, Down, Down, if they just all walked in at the same time and said, listen, you've got to listen to us or we're all leaving because you can just go to AEW and fuck them. You know what I mean? So I feel like we're in a critical point right now where this talent and this group of people, they're young, they're motivated. It's a different generation of wrestlers. Traditionally, wrestlers were afraid to stand up to the boss, and they still are. But this could be an opportunity where these guys stand up and say, if you're going to treat us like employees, insure us like employees, give us the benefits of employees. And my cat's asshole is right in the camera. Thank you. Right, this way. And if you're not, then we are independent contractors and let us, broker our own third-party deals. So this is a developing story because guys like Mike Rome are like, yeah, we can just use our regular names and go on our Twitch channels. And like some people are like, it's a little more complicated than that. So I feel like maybe the announcers because they have different contracts than the talent. It's an evolving story. So we'll see if going forward anybody really tries to initiate any kind of change. And I would like that. I would like to see those guys if they're truly independent contractors, they should be able to book their own independent stuff. And I'm not saying they're going to go work indie dates in front of 300 people, but what I'm saying is if they're independent contractors, provide them the opportunity to take commercials on their own, or to take a hey, we want to sponsor your YouTube channel, and take that deal on their own without involving WWE, because inevitably if WWE is involved, WWE wants a cut of that money. And that's what it really all boils down to, is WWE doesn't care if these guys make money, they want a piece of it. So if they're on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, and they're I'm battling against my cat's butthole here, this is ridiculous. But if they're you know, brokering these deals under their current WWE contracts, they might have to kick a piece of the sponsorship over to WWE. And I don't know. Again, there's a difference between what's legal and what's moral. Legally, WWE might be entitled to a piece of it. Morally, that's where the question comes in. So that's kind of where we are. It's an evolving story. But it seems like your favorite Twitch channel, your favorite YouTube channel, Twitter accounts, all that will stay the same, except like Paige is now Saraya on on
Right, I was
Twitch.
going to say, does that mean no more Page cleavage?
No. Paige is actually, believe it or not, Paige is actually in the top 20 worldwide of Twitch subscriptions.
Wow.
She has more Twitch subscriptions than 99% of the world, and she doesn't even like. I don't want to knock her because she knockers. No, I don't want to say anything negative about her, because she's doing a. Listen, all she's doing is literally going on Twitch and like answering questions for people. Very rarely does she play a video game. It's a platform to play video games on, and for people to comment and give tips and everything. But people are literally just going, "Oh my God, there's Paige and her big fake titties. I just want to watch this stream where she's talking to." She could be doing nothing. She could be chewing gum, and people just give her money. They're like, "Here's a tip for being you, Paige. Here's money." And so, fuck, I would take that.
Doesn't hurt either.
No, I mean the accent, the look. I mean, listen, she's a very complete celebrity. And a lot of the argument is, oh, well, these people wouldn't be famous if it weren't for WWE. I got a newsflash for you. 99% of these people, if there wasn't a WWE, would still be famous. You can't tell me The Rock wouldn't. Like, The Rock, I guess, needed that base. You know, they only need a base. But The Rock became The Rock after WWE. John Cena became John Cena after the WWE. You could take any of these guys and the success that they have in Hollywood. Paige is ready-made for... she was already a model for Hot Topic for like their print media. I mean, in the mall that's nearby my house, there used to be a big picture of her in the window advertising jeans. It wasn't even like she wasn't wearing a Paige shirt. It didn't say WWE Superstar Paige. She wasn't holding the Divas title. It was Saraya, in jeans and a t-shirt. And it was like, and she was a smoke show, 10 out of 10, of course. But
Well, look at Trish Stratus.
Yeah, yes, there are.
I remember late 90s, she'd be in all these fitness magazines.
Right.
Even in, thinking about a wrestling career.
And there are ways, and wrestling isn't the end all be all for some of these people. It is a means to an end. And I mean, once you've got an injury like Paige had, you've got to find another avenue where you can still do what you want to do. And I feel like she's capitalized on it. And WWE's looking at it going, she wouldn't be famous if it weren't for us. We need to get a piece of that money. And then, no.
Well, look what happened to the True Long Island Story.
Yes, and now, all right, so that's funny. Matt Cardona is on AEW, of course. Who knows how long that is? I feel like it's not a permanent thing. I feel like it's kind of a temporary thing, because I think he just wants to remain independent. He's a freelancer, you know what I mean? So, and the reason I say that is Jazzwares has the license for AEW toys, belts, and rings. Matt Cardona and what's his name, Brian Myers, signed deals with a company called Super 7, who produces Matt Cardona and Brian Myers wrestling action figures. And they look really great. But what I'm saying is they didn't sign an AEW toy deal or an Impact Wrestling toy deal. They signed their own action figure deals as truly independent contractors. So it's setting a precedent for other people to go, you know what? If you leave WWE, it's okay. There's other it's not just AEW. There's other, if you want to get a toy produced, if you have the big enough social media following, you can get a toy, you can get a DVD, you can get whatever you want made with enough Twitter followers or enough Instagram followers. If you have enough influence as a social media professional, regardless of what your profession was beforehand, you can do that. Like Miro. So Rusev is now Miroslav, and he's on Twitch, and that's all he's doing right now. And he's making money too. So it's at the point where celebrities in other things, not just wrestling, but in other acts of life, can just go, all right, I'm done making movies. I'm going to go on Twitch and answer questions, and people will just give me money because I'm on Twitch. So it's a whole different economy out there, and WWE wants to get their piece, kind of rightfully, in their minds, rightfully, but also it's a market that shows you don't have to be tied to a company. You don't have to be tied to a television network. You can still get the things that you want out of your career by being an independent, truly independent contractor. And 15 minutes later, we wrap that up in a nice tight little bow. Sorry to go on all that rant, folks.
I set that up perfectly, though. I knew it was coming.
Yeah. The other one I was going to talk about, and I won't get into very deeply, is this whole. Did you hear about the AEW thing? All Out pay-per-view was this weekend. I liked the pay-per-view. I thought it was enjoyable. There are some whiny, entitled people on the internet who said the entire show was diminished by the Matt Hardy spot, and then Disco Inferno. For those of you who don't know what Disco Inferno is, he's an old man who hasn't wrestled in 30 years. And even when he wrestled, I don't think he ever took a fucking bump. He came up with Bill Ding, the evil architect, as a wrestling character. He wanted to get abducted by aliens as a wrestling gimmick. And he refused all this bullshit. And the point is, he refused to put over Jacqueline. Jacqueline could have took her two big titties and crushed his head with them. And he didn't want to put her over. So they fired him. And the only way WCW hired him back was if he put over Jacqueline. All this to say, he piled on and goes, oh, well, they threw a kid out of the ring in a body bag onto thumbtacks. I'm like, Darby Allin's an adult. Regardless of how young he is, he's an adult. Nobody took a gun to Darby Allin's head and said, you have to do this or you're fired.
Nobody, please. We all know Darby Allin's the one that came up with the idea.
Came up with it. And
yeah, that was a cool spot, too.
I like that spot. And people are they're finding the fault in the Matt Hardy situation, then trying to extend it to, Britt Baker's match wasn't as good. Oh, and Darby Allin shouldn't have done that, and all this other bullshit that has nothing to do with Matt Hardy. And they don't even care about that's the problem is they don't care about Matt Hardy's health. They don't care about whether or not he has a concussion or whatever it is. All they want to do is bitch about AEW. And they've found their avenue to do it. So
but you're always going to have those people, right?
And unfortunately, you got to try and tune them out. But here's the thing. I don't want to seem like, as much as I am an AEW fan, I'm not an apologist where I think they do nothing wrong. I watched the thing happen. I saw Matt take that stupid bump that he shouldn't have taken.
That bump was horrible.
Crack his head on the ground and then not be able to get up. Now, here's the thing. I've got a little bit more perspective on this because I worked with Matt Hardy 20, 30, 50 times, whatever it was. I worked with him a lot. He, at one point, knew my name. Let's put it that way. I don't know about now. I'm a little different looking. But back in the day, he knew my name. Hi, Vince. Anyway, that's my AJ Styles impression. What am I doing? But Matt hit his head. Referee came over, saw he was out, threw up the X, rang the bell. The match ended. Thank you for the bell sound effect. The match ended, and Dr. Sampson came over to check on Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy being Matt Hardy, A, he was knocked out. B, he's Matt Hardy. He wasn't just going to let the match end. Literally, the bell rang. They ran to the backstage, did this spot. It was the first spot of the match, and he was knocked out. He wasn't thinking clearly. He said, I don't care that you rang the bell and the match ended. I'm taking Sammy, and we're going and doing the stupid Steve Blackman, Shane McMahon spot to end the match, even though the bell already rang. So the bell already rang. Oh, yes, thank you, Facebook user. And they had people bitching about JR making that stupid comment. By the way, any comment that you make about a woman is sexist. Did you know that? Anything you say about a woman, if you compliment her, it's sexist. If you insult her, it's sexist. So they're like, by God, he's a sexist. He needs to be canceled. Oh, go fuck yourself. JR's been around for 70 years. They'll be around for 70 more if they, with medical technology. But the thing is, back to Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy is a grown adult. He wasn't thinking clearly, but he's a grown adult. You're not going to stop this guy. He's a performer. There was a finish. If you're a wrestler, the mindset is, regardless of how injured you are, you drag your ass to the finish and you end the match the way it's intended. That's what he was doing. I'm not saying it was right, and I'm not saying that he wasn't injured and that I think he shouldn't have done it. There was a way to go, okay, he was knocked out, they rang the bell, they can work a way around this and do another match with Sammy and him down the line, whatever, because it was supposed to be loser leaves town. I understand. There were ways to work around it. But in Matt Hardy's mind, concussed as it was or whatever, he wanted to finish the match the way it was intended. And again, people are, Tony Khan's lying and Rebby's telling the truth and Rebby's lying and Tony's I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Everybody on Reddit and on Twitter aren't doctors. You don't know if he has a concussion. You didn't look at his file. You didn't look at his scans. You know nothing about what he did. Point being, there's a lot of hand-wringing and bitching about this thing. Oh, wrestler safety, this, that, and the other thing. My last thought on this is there's a reason that the people in the ring are cashing paychecks to be wrestlers in the ring. They have assumed a certain amount of risk to their bodies and their health and their long-term well-being. Look at Mick Foley, look at Hulk Hogan, look at all these guys that can't walk around and get around because of the way they took bumps. They've accepted that risk in exchange for being a celebrity, for being on television, for making paychecks, in the $100,000s and $1 million ranges. They assume that risk. And then there's a reason that certain people are sitting in the fucking stands because you're not athletic, you don't have that drive, and you don't have the passion, and you don't have there's a certain amount of crazy. In order to be a pro wrestler, you have to put aside, there's a whole part of your brain that tells you not to fall down and hurt yourself. That stops you. You ever have a knife in your hand or a light? Like if you have a lighter, there's something in your being that says, I can't put my hand past here or I'm going to burn myself. Your brain won't allow you to do it. You have to turn off that part of your brain to be a pro wrestler. 99% of the people in the world can't do this fucking job. And the few that do accept the risk. And if they accept the risk, I accept that they're accepting the risk. I can criticize them and I can say maybe you shouldn't do it. But I think when you start talking about, Tony Khan is running a sloppy shop and Tony Khan wants to see all these guys get put through flaming tables and they're all going to die and all, it's an overreaction. Wrestlers, regardless of who it is, it's WCW, NWA, going all the way back. I mean, I saw a thing from I saw a newspaper clipping from the 1950s where they had a cage match with Bull Curry in it. Wrestling legend from Connecticut, Bull Curry, there was a cage match with barbed wire around it. In the 50s, people try to pretend that ECW was the first company to ever have barbed wire and all this other horse shit. It's not true. This has been a thing for wrestling history. People taking stupid bumps, people doing things that go beyond what humans should normally do. That's pro wrestling. That's the magic of pro wrestling. Otherwise, it's a movie. It's CG. They're on wires. It's a green screen. It's computer graphics. This is real life. They are real life stuntmen taking real life bumps to simulate the art of fighting somebody in a real fight. And within that, there's a certain amount of physicality that you have to have. So they're assuming that risk. If they're assuming that risk and that's what they want to do with their bodies and their lives, I'm not going to criticize them for it. I can have an opinion on it, but I'm not going to say they shouldn't. It should be banned. And this person, he doesn't have it anymore. Matt Hardy's washed up. Do you know how many times they said Matt Hardy's washed up? It's been every 3 years, somebody says Matt Hardy's washed up. And he comes back and he reinvents himself and it's fine. So the whole thing is just overblown. And again, the point is there's a reason the people in the ring are in the ring. There's a reason the people in the stands are in the stands. If you're in the stands, you're there for a reason. If you're in the ring, you're there for a reason. And what do they say? The two shall not meet, or whatever it is. Yeah. There's a barrier to this. That's why they're wrestling. They're doing something you can't do.
Right. You've seen that what happened when that guy tried to attack Bret Hart in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Did you see the guy that tried to go after John Moxley?
Right away, like the Revival got in some nice,
Oh, they got in a couple of shots. A guy tried to get at Moxley during his entrance for the pay-per-view.
All right.
You just saw a guy, and I don't even know if he was staff. He just could have been another person. But this is so dumb. The guy wasn't wearing a mask. He was trying to rush up on a wrestler. You don't know if this guy's got coronavirus or AIDS or whatever other weird shit. And he's trying to interrupt the live broadcast by going up on John Moxley. And the other guy just tackles him. Like if somebody trying to shoot the president. He tackled him and he put him in a rear naked choke. And the funniest shit ever, the guy who's getting choked is tapping out, trying to get out of the hole. Like, you stupid ass. You're not going to tap out.
I love when people would do that when Randy Savage was in the ring. He beat the shit out of him.
Or Eddie. Remember Eddie Guerrero beat the shit out of him?
RVD ladder match, right.
And then what was the Vampiro? Vampiro Mike Awesome falls count anywhere, and they were in the stands, and then Vampiro starts beating the shit out of the guy. I don't know. There was all kinds of crazy shit. So, yeah, fans stay in the stands. Wrestlers are in the locker room. Wrestlers are in the ring. There's a reason for all that. Wow. We blew through that hour like nothing.
That's it. Top of the hour.
Oh, we won't even get into it, but there's an article out there about Sturgis rally, and they said so NPR estimated that 250 people caught coronavirus from going to the Sturgis rally, and then Mother Jones released an article that said 250,000 people were affected by it, which is just horseshit. And then they try to get on Chris Jericho. Oh, Chris Jericho is responsible for helping infect 250,000 people at Sturgis bike rally. And just, if you truly think that, please turn the computer off, turn your television off, go outside, talk to a woman, talk to other human beings, get a fucking life. Chris Jericho is not even the slimmest part responsible for the spread of whatever the fuck you think that he spread. And it's ridiculous to think that if one source says 250 people got it and another source says 250,000 people got it,
those are big extremes there.
It's a real big extreme. So I just feel, I know, listen, they're not exactly mask wearing people at the Sturgis rally. They're probably not the most socially distant people. But it's not like, again, Chris Jericho didn't say, if you don't come to Fozzie's concert with Smash Mouth at Sturgis, I'm going to shoot you in the face or I'm going to kill your grandma. No, people willingly went there. And if they want to go there and not wear masks and get sick, fuck them. They're not near me. I'm staying home. It's not, the Sturgis rally's been going on for fucking 100 years. They were going regardless of whether Chris Jericho was there or not. So the fact that people are it's another thing where people who are very defensive of the WWE are using whatever they can to knock people in AEW. And Chris Jericho is caught in the crossfire here because he performed at Sturgis. So it's phony. It's just phony, concern trolling bullshit, because unfortunately, people don't actually care if Matt Hardy has a concussion or not. They just want to complain. People don't care if people got sick at Sturgis. They just want to complain about it. In fact, if people got sick and died from going to Sturgis, they'd be happy because then they have more things to complain about. And that's how fucked up the year 2020 is.
And with that, we've reached the top of the hour.
Lovers. All right. So this has been another
edition. And where the Vince ran. I love it.
I mean, we started with Eric, ended with me. Next week we gotta get Steve on there. That's gonna
something's got to fire me up, boys. Let's see what happens this week. Let's see.
So, this will do it for this edition of the War Report on our brand new streaming system. I fucking love it. I hope we get not to pull the curtain back. Were you playing the music directly? Could you just play music on your laptop and it played through the thing, or how did you do that?
I did it the same way I've been doing it. I didn't even try that yet.
Just hit. It was very nice that you discreetly had the phone there playing it. I didn't even see you do it. So
right out of camera's view, baby.
Perfect. So once again, if you like watching the War Report, we're all over social media now because of this new streaming platform. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitch, we're on Periscope, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. It's at Tag Me a Date. We're on YouTube, of course. At Tag Me a Date. No spaces. Tag Me a Date. It's all one word. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you go to the YouTube page, youtube.com. You type in the search bar, Tag Me a Date. You'll see our channel. Hit subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notifications when we go live or when we upload a new video. Likewise to all the other social media platforms, hit subscribe on at Tag Me a Date. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast rather than the video version that we do weekly, you'll have to wait just 24 hours or less The show goes live on Tuesdays, and the audio version goes up on Wednesdays on Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Ooh, and you can, man, the seltzer's hitting me hard. I'm getting gas. But yeah, just search for @TagMeADate, and you'll find it, and you subscribe, and then the audio version. As long as you're subscribed every week, you don't have to do anything. The podcast gods will deliver the podcast directly to your podcast app of choice. So hopefully we'll catch you on the flip side. We'll be back next Tuesday, 7 p.m. on Eastern time for another edition of the War Report. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for interacting, the people that were commenting. We really appreciate that you are, it's nice to see direct feedback here as we're going. So please keep the comments up, keep the subscriptions up, and we will see you guys next week, Tuesday, 7 p.m. live and streaming all over the internet. Thank you for watching.